Hello there, and welcome back to my YouTube channel for today's video, all about how to pass your ACA exams first time, first one, 215, all in one go. So if you're an ACA student, you are definitely going to want to watch till the end of this video because I have the perfect lady who's going to walk and talk us through her experiences of, for the video, Jag, you passed all your ACA exams first time, which does help for the title on this. But
Yeah.
welcome to the channel. Feel free to introduce yourself.
No, so thanks for having me, James. Really appreciate it. So I'm Jag. Some of you may have seen me online as Jag's Journey. So that's my blog and YouTube channel. James will probably put the links in the description below. Maybe I should have let you say that. But yeah, no, so I kind of blog and do videos and things already all about how to pass the ACA exams. So I do have very kind of specific exam by exam basic videos in terms of tips for those. But yeah, really happy to do this video with James today and just kind of talk about more generic tips and just wider tips overall. And I guess anything that is relevant to the exams, maybe how hard they are, whatever you think will be useful, James.
Well, we're ready to rock and roll now, Jag. It's all right with an undercover ACCA member on the conversation as well. But I'll chip in from my experience of failing exams and getting through them. But if we start off, we start off with the first ones, the sort of foundation-y papers, the first tier. If you're new to accounting, maybe you've not got much experience, or it's your first exams on there, what are your main tips to help with the first sort of fundamentals?
Right, so the first 6 exams, they are all the certificate level exams, and they're all predominantly multiple choice exams. So some might be multi kind of scenario type where you can kind of select a question that has a few answers, but then some do have those scenario questions where you do kind of have to like really think about things, or maybe, in the accounting exam, you would have to populate a balance sheet or a profit and loss. Things like that. So a bit more to it than just the typical multiple choice questions. So as you said, how would you kind of approach it? So I guess this is an opportunity to talk about my book. So I do have an Accounting for Beginners book, and that really drills into the fundamentals and the basics behind accounting. But then just in general, and if you don't have any accounting experience, and to be honest, I didn't either, it's nothing to be worried about. It's honestly fine, because what I found with these exams is that the content does kind of ease you in. So you really do just build right from the bottom. I'm sure it's probably the same with the ACCA, right, James?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So we'll just kind of build just right from the bottom, and kind of pile up as you go on. But like I said, they are predominantly multiple choice. I think what is so good about the ACA exams is that you do just have all the resources that you'd possibly need with ICAEW. So you will get question banks. I guess you'll have a study manual, which can be very, very long. And I think for certificate level exams, you probably don't need to go into all that detail. So if you've got a tuition provider, I think that will be really helpful, kind of just to see their summary notes to kind of go through. But is it similar for yours?
Yeah, it's a similar sort of setup, but the main thing to help students out from that sort of foundation level is that it's really key, especially if you're not from an accounting background, maybe you've not done a degree or anything like that, or maybe just an accounting course, it is the fact of that these first level exams, financial accounting, then link onto financial reporting, and then they get more difficult. So if you think, oh, I'll just breeze through the foundation ones, it's only going to get more difficult as you go through, just to mention, especially on there.
No, that's so important. I definitely agree with that, to kind of get the basics kind of nailed where you can. So I think for the ACA, my tips for the certificate level would honestly be just kind of go through the content just once over, whether that's in college with your tuition provider or kind of whoever you're studying with, just kind of go through that content once. And then I really just think get straight to question bank practice. I think it's so important to have as much practice as you can. Like some of the exams, I think law, there's actually a law exam, and that is quite tricky. It's very kind of, the answers are quite nitpicky, I've found. So you really do just need to kind of get that question practice so you kind of know what they're actually asking and kind of where to get the marks. So Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Definitely. And just to add to that, from my experience on it, it's question practice is all about, and I can't stress this enough, reading the question properly. You'll go through
Yeah.
questions and you think that has to be the right answer, James. And then you'll get it wrong and you're like, oh, I just misread it in
I've
the
had that
exam.
times.
But that can be the difference between a pass and a fail on there. So I'd have that in it as well. And also be careful on the formatting, that maybe you might have to write an answer that it might be to the nearest 2 decimal places, or the number of thousands on there.
No, I've had that. I've had that in one of the exams. I think that was one that I didn't do as well in, and I think had I not done the formatting correctly, where you actually need to, so this is management information, one of those kind of scenario questions, it actually needed to input zeros in. You can't just leave them blank. And I think I remembered in, say, the last 20 seconds. And yeah, that was scary. But yeah, really good tip, that one.
Oh, nice. So that's from the first level then. On to the next level. Arc back to your experience on there. How much of a jump was it? What we talking?
Enormous. Honestly, crazy. I can't even stress the jump. I just it was crazy. You go from these kind of hour-and-a-half multiple choice exams, and that doesn't mean that they're easy. They're not easy, but I think they're hard in different ways, because of course you're just learning it very fresh, and accounting for me, like new language, completely new to me. But then these exams, so they go from, say, 2.5 hours to 3 hours long. There's so many pages, there's lots of exhibits, there's so much. It's honestly crazy. When you first look at it, I just sat there with some of my colleagues, like, going through like a past exam paper at the start, and we were like, what on earth? So yeah, that just goes to show it's a huge step up, but that doesn't mean it's not anything that you can't kind of get to grips with and then understand as you go on.
Yeah, exactly on that. It's always going to be a big jump up, but that's use all the free resources. The same applies to ACA on there. It's always the bottom line is always past papers, doing them to time as well, not just sort of fluttering along and thinking, oh, it'll be fine. In the exam they'll give me more time. They won't, and you need to answer 100 marks of the exam. So many students, you see it in the examiner's reports, only do 85 marks.
Crazy. I think what's so mad is that you feel as though, because you hear how much time an exam paper is, so 2.5 hours to 3 hours, you'd think that you have plenty of time. But what I've actually heard from tutors, for the reason that people are unsuccessful, is because of timing. And through doing the exams, I've realized that the majority are actually really time pressured. So even though you've got such a long time, it will just like fly by. Like, it's crazy. It's probably as quick as watching this video because we're so interesting.
When you think 3 hours, you think, oh, 2 football matches. Oh, I've got loads of time on that.
Literally, that's so true.
Sit yourself down, do maybe a 10-mark question on there, do it to time, 18 minutes or so, and then you go, oh my word, I really have not got time. And this is also bearing in mind, we talked about the jump up there, Jag, is that your concentration levels. Just think about this now. When was the last time that you concentrated for 3 hours straight? And you go, oh my word, at least I have a little break at work, or I can, it's a case of, it is so full on, and you're going to be tested that your concentration is going to go up and down. You've got to remain hydrated and just see mistakes.
Really. So, and you can get hungry as well, which is also tough.
I agree. But in terms of the content, you touched on it. How much more technical is it, and how much more detail do you have to go into?
It does really build, to be honest. I think, so for example, if we use the accounting exam as an example, so that certificate level accounting, I think you'll kind of get given a trial balance, and then we'll just need to plug the numbers in. But then once you get that next step to the professional level exam, it's like you're kind of given a whole scenario, and you would literally need to kind of create the like balance sheet, profit and loss, whatever it is, yourself. And at that point, that's when you need to know the accounting standards, and you'll have to kind of explain them, really kind of tailor it. And it's just a huge step up where you kind of need to show actually you understand what's going on and how to do it. And then it also throws in a different element, which is like the consolidated group accounts. So you won't have seen that at all before, but then it does kind of bring that in, which is, yeah, just a new element. So it still does at this level, I feel, get quite a bit more technical. So it's like you said, the kind of certificate is the basics, but it really will just build and build.
Yeah, and you'll hit topics like audit on there. When I remember doing my audit exam, and I never worked in audit. And trust me on this, if you're watching this and you're going, oh, James, I don't work with much financial reporting or anything like that, just then the best bit of advice is just get stuck into the text and learn as much as you can, and try and meet other students who work in the field that they can explain it, what happens on a day-to-day basis.
I guess it's interesting because I do work in audit, but then at the time of my exam, I had barely any audit experience. So I kind of did my first 9 exams in the first 6 months.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I really just had not done much audit experience, any audit work at all. So I kind of felt as though I was in the same boat with that. But yeah, I guess definitely speaking to others does help. And I think the tutors do actually tend to have some good insights as well. So I would advise listening where you can.
That would help, I would say. But moving on to the final top layer then, the top layer. And some of my friends who are ACA qualified tell me about the case study on there, on the final one. And you're smiling away, but walk and talk us through what comes to mind on that final layer of exams.
Right, so before you mention the case study, actually, that wasn't the one that I was thinking about. So I'll give a spoiler to my hardest exam, and that was definitely corporate reporting, which that's the next step up from those accounting exams. And I guess I actually got told if you get to those exams, you'll pretty much kind of sail through, you know, like you'll just knock it out the park. But it's just nothing like that at all. And these exams are open book, which you might think, oh, actually, they should be fine, you know, like you've got everything you need. But in reality, what it means is that there's so much content, anything could be thrown at you, kind of any standard, that you really do need to know a lot of variety of different types of accounting standards. So that's the one that jumps out at me when you say
everyone's writing it down now. Pay real attention to that.
Really kind of, I think do you know what, when I was studying for it, I didn't actually find it that bad, but it was only once I had my exam and realized how random and difficult it can be. So my exam got postponed a month due to COVID, so it's the August 2020. So anyone watching, if they want to see an absolutely terrifying exam, I would recommend looking at that past paper. It was it was just not what I expected at all, and that's where I realized how hard that exam can be. But then the case study, so that one, I found nobody really spoke about it, to be honest, before I started doing it. I don't know why. I think people just said, yeah, it's fine, you need a few days off and yeah, you'll be fine. But to be honest, I liked it. I actually did. I think because the technical knowledge, there's not actually too much of content that you need to know. It's more of like the skill of report writing and things. So in that sense, I liked it. So you get advanced information kind of 6 weeks before the exam. You need to kind of learn it inside out and just understand it, and then you get fresh information in the exam. Do you have one for the ACCA?
No, they don't have a case study yet on it. They have the option papers on there, which it's the same sort of format, but aren't released on there. So yeah, if you haven't really covered, say, the advanced taxation syllabus, and you've not gone into, I don't know, income tax in enough detail, and one comes up, you got really struggling to pass on that.
Yeah. Okay. I guess it's quite different then in that sense.
Yeah,
But
still
yeah,
challenging. Nevertheless,
yeah.
that it
Nevertheless, I think the case study is not bad, but where it gets difficult is because there are actually many ways that you can fail the exam. So you would normally just think you need kind of 50% to pass. That's what it is for the case study. But that doesn't just mean that you need those marks. You need to kind of have, a whole balanced report. It can't have gaps. It needs to kind of, hit every sort of requirement to
mm,
like a good standard. And that's where it's quite tricky, I think. And timing. So it's a 4-hour exam,
yeah.
but timing is crazy on that exam. You need to just be like on it constantly. So yeah, I did like that one though.
Oh my gosh, I'll have to put that in the title of this video. You will like the case study
Yeah.
after this video. But are there any other sort of big lessons that sort of come to the forefront of your mind that I really wish I'd have known that before I got started?
Yeah, big lessons. I don't know. I think the certificate level management information exam, that was just a big shock to me, I think. And I think it's more so because I did do that question bank practice approach that I initially spoke about. But I think what I've realized actually when doing the exam is that I didn't really understand it enough, because in the real exam, I think the formulas, everything, it was more rearranged. Like you really did need to show your understanding.
Mm-hmm.
But for that exam, I guess I just didn't really have that grasp of the content that I thought I maybe did. So I'd really recommend for that one not to kind of, just think that you can pass it with like a little bit of practice. It does actually require a lot more than you may think.
Mm. There'll always be an exam which you go, oh my word, what even is this as well? So
Yeah.
don't think that it's all just sunshine and rainbows. We've all been there where you go, oh
Yeah.
my, this exam is not the one for me.
No,
But
I think majority of the ACA exams, I did actually think I failed. So you will actually really surprise yourself. That's a big thing that I say to people when they're waiting for their results and they're very stressed, because I really thought, for some, I was so convinced I honestly wanted to start revising for my resit straight away because that's how convinced I was that I failed. I think before that corporate reporting exam, I'd set up a meeting with my coach at work because I thought I need to discuss my resit and what would happen now given failing the exam, and it was all fine. So
good
I think,
stuff.
yeah, it worked out well in the end, but that's a takeaway as well. Just don't ever think the worst, just kind of keep going.
And I mean the other factors away from the exams, like work-life balance and
Yeah,
your actual having a life as well.
yeah,
Any tips on that as to sort of balancing it around, it's
yeah.
fantastic passing all these exams, but then what springs to mind that could help someone out who's maybe new to the process?
100% is to make the most of your annual leave. So that is something that I was really big on. So I was actually sitting 3 professional level exams at a time, which is quite intense. So I would always make sure, kind of outside of the college kind of examination prep time, I would give myself 2 weeks of annual leave, which was actually then essentially for revision. So I think where it can get really hard is if you don't really have any time off, you're working pretty much up to those college dates, and then you're working all your evenings, kind of all your weekends, and you don't really get any time to, just kind of have some downtime. Because I think with my approach and kind of using the annual leave, I guess it's not the best because it's annual leave and you want to maybe use it for other things, but I just haven't regretted it at all. And it did allow me to have that balance. Like I could still, go to the gym, I could still go to some birthday parties, and it really allowed me to kind of have that balance. I don't think it is the case that you just don't get a life and you can't kind of do
I get what you
both.
mean. Yeah,
Yeah,
because if you're not sleeping right and you're not looking after yourself, then that can really hamper your revision, as well
yeah,
as you're going through it. But having those, in your case, those 2 weeks before the exam and around study days and whatever, that actually makes
yeah,
pretty good sense. Because the other thing as well is you switch off from emails and work commitments
yeah,
as well, which is again
yeah,
your focus then goes back to actually those exams and then going, this is my main target, and we can sort out the rest of it when I get back, because you know that is the main priority at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the exams are definitely the main priority. I think so. I don't know if I've actually mentioned in this video that I do work at a big 4 firm, and the main priority is definitely passing your exams. And with that can come a lot of pressure, a lot of stress as well, because there are kind of policies around exams and like securing your role still. So I think definitely if you do have the chance to take annual leave and it's not one of your busy periods and you are allowed it, then I would suggest kind of looking into that.
Super stuff, Jag. Honestly, thank you so much for all your tips, walking and talking us through all of that. As Jag said at the start, I'll be sure to put all the details at the bottom, guys, on there. So feel free to check it out. Thank you so much, Jag. I mean, have you enjoyed today's video? Good fun?
Yeah, it's been really good. It has been good. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, feel free to let myself and Jag know in the comments below how you get on with your ACA exams. If you want any other advice or tips, or if you want links to anything, just leave us a comment below, and we love to hear. Hopefully the tips in today's video can be that little difference, as we both know, and just those extra 1 or 2 marks that could just get you over the line. Because what's it like to feel like you've qualified, Jag?
It's so good. It is really, really good.
Have you got your certificate in a nice little
it's in a lovely frame. It's not in this room, but I do have it framed in my bedroom. Yeah.
Good stuff. Everyone's there going now, oh, that'll be me in a few years' time. That'll be nice. Well, that's all right, guys. Well, as I said, make sure you check out Jag's details at the bottom. Subscribe to her channel. Feel free to hit the button below on mine as well, because you get all those for free on top of it. And if you're still watching at this point, be sure to give it a massive like, because then that means more ACA students are, hang on, and he said ACCA students there, Jag. More ACA students will see this video on there. But otherwise, thank you very much, Jag, again, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.